The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Ewing. Today we're going to be talking about the upper limit problem. You see, every week, nearly every day, I get the opportunity to talk to entrepreneurs who have this ceiling that they have created in their own mind of success. And what I find is they constantly allow themselves a certain level of success. Maybe if you're listening to this podcast today, maybe this is you. You are someone who allows yourself a certain level of success to a certain point, and then you begin to self-sabotage. You begin to beat yourself down, beat yourself up. You begin to, worry about the inner dialogue. And what I find inside of this is there is a problem that you are trying to solve by externally focusing on changing something outside of you, whether it be making more money, losing more weight, changing something inside of your marriage, or just maybe changing some way, shape, or form, something externally. But the first time I heard about this upper limit problem, I read about this like 5-6 years ago, and I can't remember exactly the name of the book. In fact, I probably should, because it's on the podcast today. But there's this problem that we create that gets us to a certain point where we've reached our limit. We've reached our capacity. We've reached kind of like this place we've gotten to. So you could think about, maybe it's losing 20 pounds. That's an easy example. Or maybe it's making a certain amount of money, making $10,000 in a month. But the minute that we reach this level of success, we tell ourselves we don't deserve more. We tell ourselves that, now that I've reached success, I've got to my full capacity, and now I have to, begin to burn things down, or this is about the time to burn things down. And I always think about, where I come from is in the gym industry. A lot of times you could see people lose weight. They would be really successful up to a certain point, and then they would begin to self-sabotage. And then I would see business owners be really successful in business, be really diligent about the work they were doing, and then they would make a certain amount of money, and then they would begin to dismantle every result that they just gotten. But I want you to think about how this upper limit problem has been impacting your life. And maybe it is inside of your fitness, or maybe it is in your business, where you allow yourself a certain level of success, but then you begin to fall apart. You begin to burn it down. And what this is that it's a capacity thing. It's a capacity issue that when we hit our upper limit, meaning when we achieve success, when we achieve that happiness, the wealth, whatever that is, our ego tends to get in the way. Our ego tends to bring us back down to reality. In other words, it pushes us back to our comfort zones, to where we're comfortable. And we start with the inner dialogue. We start going back to the old behaviors that originally got us to where we were prior. And if you thought about it, it's almost like losing 20 pounds and gaining back 30. It's like making $10,000 and spending 15. Or instead of, you make $10,000 and you try to go double down on the blackjack machine, and all of a sudden you lose everything. But most people have this upper limit problem because, listen, we say we want to be happy. We say that we'll be happy when we lose the 20 pounds. We say that we'll be excited. We'll say that we'll be wealthy when we get to this place. Yet when we get there, we find that we're not. And it's how we've been measuring our success. When I get here, then I will achieve this or I will feel this. But we have to start feeling something before we actually get to that place. And if you think about this is, we need to start with ourselves. So what is the limit inside of myself that's holding me back from getting what I actually want? And why, when I lose 20 pounds, why do I self-sabotage at that point? Why do I go back to, my old ways? Why do I go back to that comfort? Because I think a lot of times we put a lot of success in the work to getting somewhere, but we don't put that same amount of value in maintaining that or moving beyond that. And so there's levels to success. Level 1 is maybe achieving the goal. Level 2 could just be starting a new foundation from that place. Level 3 is creating one even beyond that. But I think when we're only attached to the physical outcome, when we're only attached to the outcome that changes us externally, the internal part of us doesn't actually match up. And so then we begin to self-sabotage. And so what I'm talking about is, hey, it's great that you are setting these goals. It's great that you're setting these outcomes in these areas of your life. But if you don't internally talk about this same outcome, you're going to fall back to your old ways. You're going to get out of your comfort zone and you're going to get stuck at the goal instead of conquering the goal, instead of conquering yourself, instead of moving past that and creating a new solid foundation. You're now falling back into your old comfort zone. See, this whole idea of changing the world starts with changing your world. If you cannot change your world, then your upper limit problem is that you're trying to change the world. And inside of doing that, things begin to creep in, such as, things that keep us safe, things that maybe keep us anxious, things that have us feeling constant worry or doubt. But this is all ego driven. And so you have to get past your ego if you want to start from a new foundation. See, the part of you that really wants to change is the internal part, but you think that to make a change stick, you have to only focus on the external. But this is where living to your full potential comes into play. The only way you're going to ever live to your full potential is you have to get past the external goal and start getting to the internal change that you truly want. Most people don't want to lose 20 pounds unless they want to change something internally. The problem is they're focused on the external change, that the internal change never actually takes place. And so if the internal change doesn't match the external change, then we can't reach our full potential. We fall back to our lowest level of training, highest form of addiction, and then it's all ego driven. Ego driven is more money, more of everything, or less weight, less body fat, all those things, all the external driven things that we work towards. But if you want to have purpose in your workouts, if you want to have purpose in your money, you better start matching up internally what you're trying to create externally. Because I truly believe that the only upper limit problem you have is the inner dialogue that you tell yourself on what you're worthy of. See, the ego will tell us that we want to change externally, but it won't tell us that we have to actually change from our heart. See, the ego will tell us, we're overweight, we don't make enough money. But the inner part of us will say that we're worthy of whatever we want to create. It will say we're worthy of the money. It will say we're worthy of the weight loss, but it won't stop there. And purpose comes from your head, not from your heart. And the more purpose-driven that your life can be, your goals can be, that the limits you put on yourself can be, the less ego-driven they are. Think about this. When is the last time that you've reached your upper limit? Maybe it was in your fitness. Maybe it was inside of your nutrition. Maybe you did good for a while and then you went back to your comfort zone. When was the last time you reached your upper limit in your business? Maybe it was making a certain amount of money, getting a certain amount of clients, and then all of a sudden it went back. What happened? Your ego started kicking in and it started taking over. Your inner dialogue started kicking in and telling yourself you weren't worthy enough. You didn't deserve it. You couldn't keep it up. But I want you to think about today. What is working inside of your upper limits? What is not working inside of your upper limits? Are you blaming others? Are you not taking responsibility for the limits that you've created for yourself? Because the important thing is to remember is if you are the one blocking you, it is coming from your limit, your upper limit problem. It is coming from what you truly want in life. It's coming from what you truly desire. And your head and heart are not in alignment. And so when they're not in alignment, everything that you are basing every decision off of is purely driven by your ego. And your ego is not your amigo. And so we have to start getting back into alignment to break through our upper limits, to break through the inner dialogue, to break through the goals that we continue to get to and then we fall back. So wherever you are today, decide what is your upper limit and how are you going to begin to break through them. Number one, the first thing that you're going to need to do is become aware of what your actual upper limit is. Number two, you're going to have to understand, is my goal or is my outcome, is it from my ego or is it from my heart? Chances are, if you keep falling back to where you are, it is driven purely by your ego. And then number three is get into alignment with your heart, because your heart is where you start and your heart is where your purpose comes from. Not from some external change, but an internal change and an internal desire. So these are the three ways that you can begin to work past your upper limit problem. So I want to thank you guys for being on here today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. If you want to request anything specifically on the next episode or future episodes, please feel free to reach out to me at habitbasedlifestyle.com. Until next episode, have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse.